Good morning. Today is November the 14th, 2025. It is about 9:42 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For the record, this is Yahweh Elohim, Yahuwah, the Lord God Almighty. He who comes from heaven is here. The governor of the earth is here, and is I. So today we're going to make this all about Middle East, Gaza, the Palestinians, the Israelites. This is going to be the end-all be-all solution, because I will start this out with a parable. The Middle East is like that of a large home. The cradle of civilization is like a large home. So this encapsulates Syria, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, Afghanistan, Egypt, and UAE, United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. Okay? Along with Lebanon and Jordan. And for that matter, Turkey is also in the mix. The east side of Turkey is more Persian, and then the west side is leaning more towards like the Greek Athens type. So that in a picture is one big home, and it is complete with more bedrooms than the number of nations who currently inhabit them. There is more land per square foot, per square mile available than there are people that occupy those areas. So, in the home schematic, all these bedrooms are pretty big. Most of these bedrooms are massive. All except for the smallest bedroom, which is Israel, which is my land that I set apart for myself. Now, in the parable, all the inhabitants of these bedrooms, or these nations in this large house known as the cradle of civilization, they are like brothers sharing this large home. And then within the home, there are breakout rooms. Now, imagine mother and father having two boys that are constantly fighting, and they're fighting about wanting to split the smallest room. Logically, naturally, as a just normal parent, your first reaction is to step in, stop the fighting, and to separate them. One room for you, one room for you. Israel was the assigned son to the smallest room, shared with none other but me, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Elohim, and the Heavenly Family. And I am the head of the house. I am the head of the world, but in this parable, also the house. Now, the Palestinians have the most options when they're looking at new bedrooms. They can either bunk with a brother whom they get along with, or they can have a portion allotted to them by their Elohim. Since they do not consider me their Elohim, they worship demon gods, and they worship a religion, a false religion, be that as it may. If they had a real God, then their real God would be stepping up to the plate to allot them a piece of land, like I did allot to Israel. As we are finding out here in the end times that Jesus is a fake person who's never coming for Christians, Baal is never going to get off his fat ass and leave his fourth heaven to come down here to do anything for any of you people. Therefore, if not all people on the earth have been abandoned by their gods because you're all little brats. And I, as the supreme deity and father of those gods, am going to sort this, or I will demolish the home and build it new. And again, if their god has abandoned them, then I, as the chief deity, will resettle them in an appropriate room, in an area they're going to like, and in an area they're not going to make fights. No people upon my creation want to live a terrible existence of war, of death, of famine, constant upheaval. Human life is very important to me, which is why I get very, very upset when I am contemplating a complete redo. Because to everybody on the earth, except for me, you guys end up really with the best outcome no matter what. Because either you get a brand new earth to hopefully take care of this time, or you all die and then you're reborn into a new earth with the proper seed, the proper instruction, and the proper atmospheric conditions, meaning the culture you will be raised in will give you much better chances at being a smart, well-rounded, successful, faith-filled individual, God-fearing individual, and you will know my name. So, likewise, if any people choose to worship, honor, and obey the tablets of Moses and worship the one true Elohim, who is I, Yahweh Elohim, Yahuwah, then they are welcome to settle in New Canaan as either a Gentile or as a covenanted people. Here are some options that Palestine you have. Homs in Syria is a place that you would be able to settle, and as these are all friendly to your false god and demon worship, Syria has just overthrown al-Assad. So you can take your belongings and you can move into Homs in Syria. They'll be friendly and they will help you rehabilitate you as a people, and you as a people can integrate into their society. If you do not like Homs in Syria, you can go to Baghdad, Iraq. They are in the middle of rebuilding Iraq. So this would be a wonderful place for Palestinians, men, women, and children to come in under the wings of the Iraqis. And for the most part, except for small factions of militant groups that are still in resistance to the free and modern world, Iraq is cleaning itself up every day. The Iraqi people are a beautiful people. And Iraq at one point was absolutely gorgeous. I had a temple in Iraq thousands of years ago, 4,000 years ago. I had a beautiful temple in Iraq. But if you don't like Iraq, then you're welcome to go under your chief leader, right? Or who I will call your earthly Elohim, your God, Kamini. He's not a real God in the sense that he has any supernatural power or any authority or any or really anything to offer except for the facade that he provides for his people. But either way, you're welcome to go and worship Kamini. He is in Tehran, Iran. But I believe that Isfahan, Iran, would be the best place for Palestinians to settle. All these places have existing structures that you as a people can integrate into, and they're not going to be hostile to your beliefs, your ideals, false worship as it may. They're not going to be hostile to you. If you do not want to go to Iran, you can go to Ad Damam in Saudi Arabia. The Saudis have the most money, and they actually would align with your ideals quite well. They would be able to take you in as refugees and actually help you build independent settlements. And therefore, the focus comes off of war, which it should. It needs to come under an eternal type of settlement. not a settlement that would result in the parent breaking up the fight, caving into the whims of the bullying brother, only for the parent to go back in the kitchen, make some PB&Js, and then they just start fighting again. Then it's just not fair to the parent. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to me that I have a bedroom in my house that I want to paint, I want to redecorate, I want to hold ceremonies, I want to have my bedroom set up for me and the heavenly family to move in, and I can't do that when the brothers are constantly fighting. I will not tolerate it, because then I will end up raising my hand to both brothers, and I will inflict upon their faces their punishment. And that is not a good scenario to be in for either brother. So, Saudi Arabia, if you settled in the land of Ad-Dammam in Saudi Arabia, that would be one of your best viable paths, because you would have access to deep Arabian oil money and like-minded ideals. Also, Saudi Arabia's government itself could provide security guarantees that ensure that Israel would not take any recourse against the Palestinians in any way. Because at that point, I, as their father, would instruct them that once the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank are relocated under the Saudi Arabian government and are settling in Ad-Dammam, then now you are under Saudi Arabia. They will help you construct schools. They will help you build homes. They will teach you tasks and purposes that do not involve guns, that do not involve murder or rape. They will teach you skills such as mechanics, air conditioning, electrical, engineering, office type of service work. There are many opportunities that live in the real and modern world that truly awaits the Palestinian people. This is not judgments made against any people as a whole, but it is the bad apples who have hearts of demons that want to constantly be provocative, and they want to constantly be in a juxtaposition in order to make war. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. Thus, a splitting up of the smallest bedroom is absolutely, unequivocally unacceptable. And if I continue to hear that this is the measure that the international community is trying to take, I will send out spiritual assassins and I will remove those talking heads from my creation first. If this continues to go down a road of splitting the bedroom when I have officially decreed that is not a possibility, then I will begin destroying the populations of people that are causing me this anguish. Now, if Saudi Arabia is not your best, is not where you want to go, Palestine, you can go to Salalah and Oman. That is another option. Oman is tucked in right there on the southern eastern flank of Saudi Arabia, so you would be nestled in there. It's quite nice because you would have some coastline, and as your current situation gives you access to the coast, you would be right here with the Persian Gulf to your north and the Gulf of Oman to your east. And as far as inhabitation levels, it's quite low, so you would have lots and lots of room to stretch out, unlike Gaza that is packed so tightly in there. And as a people, I want you to truly understand this. As a true and living Elohim, Elohim, Yahweh Elohim, Yahuwah, this entire creation is mine to govern. No matter what your God is or your religion is, whether you're a Jesus worshiper or a demon worshiper, if you're a living flesh upon the creation, you're still my problem at the end of the day. Which is why I really say to hooey with any religion, because I look at this as this is my job, and I need every steward that has been created upon this creation to get to work being a good steward. Fighting is not being a good steward. Humans thinking that their job is to rule other humans is not your job. It is none of your job. It is my job. So saith Genesis, and so saith I, the creator of all things, Yahweh Elohim, Yahuwah. If Oman is not a place of interest, I feel more like a real estate agent right now than an Elohim, but I'm doing this for everyone because I want to see progress, and apparently no nation on this creation is savvy enough to get the basic instincts and understanding of logical directive. The next option I would present would be Aden City in Yemen. Now, Yemen, you have your surly counterparts, the Houthis, who, if they don't mellow out, are going to become the object of my wrath. So, hopefully, the Houthis would settle down if their best friend Palestine came and bunked with them. Aden City is right on the coast of Gulf of Aden, and to your south, to the south, you have Hargeisa, and then right near there you have Ethiopia. Now, Ethiopia historically has been a safekeeping spot, or at least legend-wise, where the Ark of the Covenant supposedly was smuggled out of the temple in Jerusalem, and then they carted it over via small ship right on the point here of Gur-Ahra, and they basically went right up Fagel through Obak, and down into Ethiopia, where they settled the Ark of the Covenant. I have not physically been to Ethiopia to confirm that the Ark is there, and I have yet to receive any transmission back from the Ark telling me its location. So there's a high likelihood that it's been destroyed and melted down by the very Persians, or the very people that are arguing and fighting with Israel. Moving on. So Aden City in Yemen would be a wonderful spot because, again, that gives you that coast. It's going to provide work. And then you have districts. If you wanted your own complete bedroom, fresh paint and everything, you could go into the Turban district, or you could go into the Al-Barak or the Mishraha, right? But either way, that entire area in Yemen is more than appropriate. There's way more room. And you would have the backing of several different governments that all fall under the same type of chapter. So, my last option would be Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Now, the Saudis are a little bit of a haughty people. They are kind of snobby. So I don't really know how they would fare with like Palestinians just kind of moving in mass. But if that be the case, I just had it up. Where did you go? Oh, there we go. Jeddah is also on the coast, but this one is on the coast of the Red Sea. Alright, so you're sharing into the Red Sea. It is almost parallel with the border of Egypt and Sudan. So, as a people, here is something I could, again, see the Palestinians settling right here in Jeddah, and you have many options. Again, if you wanted to blend yourselves into the existing economy, King Abdullah Economic City is right to the north of Jeddah. You have work on the ports of Jeddah. And if you want to, again, have your room brand new, fresh paint, fresh furniture, then why don't you go to the north of Makkah City, and you could settle on the corridor of the M80 highway. That puts you in between Al-Murah and Jeddah. And that would be in, again, Saudi Arabia, which I think that Saudi Arabia is the best bet for financial backing because they have the money. And that's important because here's what I envision. Here's what I envision. I don't go to people's houses that I'm not welcome in. Okay? And I surely do not ever want to go to a place that me or my people are not cherished, loved, honored, admired, right? That's just the fact. Okay? I'll use a parable. I live in the United States of America currently, and I do live in the sunny state of Florida. Good job, DeSantis. But Florida has an invasive python problem. Now, the Florida alligator has been here for millions of years before the Burmese python that is originally home to India. India is the original home of the Burmese python, even though it can now be found in most parts throughout the Middle East, the jungles of Africa, all the way through Asia Minor, Asia Major, all throughout basically that side of the creation. But here's the deal. So once the Burmese python began to try to inhabit Florida, the alligators and the pythons are two super predators, and neither of them get along because of their natural disposition towards each other. So there is no negotiating with the alligator, and there is no negotiating with the python. This is the equivalent of there is no negotiating with Israel, the Israelites, and there is no negotiating with the Palestinian people. So what is the next best move? Instead of trying to cram millions of poor people into the armpit of Israel just because there is a false claim to the land, me as Yahweh Elohim, before there was ever a human being upon the creation, as I made the creation and I set my sights out to what piece of land I was going to have and to what other sub-gods I was going to allow to rule around me and to trade with Israel, and that my temple would be the temple that the sub-gods would meet at. Equivalent to the G7 summit that humans take part in, much like these these big board meetings that human leaders do. I, in the beginning, did the same thing, but with other deities, such as Baal, such as Molech, such as Vishnu or Brahma, and just different deities in the Middle Eastern area would travel a day or up to 10 days to come to my temple for us to have a chat. So, point in summary is there is plenty of land for the Burmese python to be settled elsewhere, and it's never going to find peace and harmony and coherence when it's a super predator among a super predator like the Florida alligator. Sometimes the gator wins, sometimes the python wins, but it's never pretty. So the most logical, straightforward path to long-lasting peace is for one of the brothers closest to Palestinians to be able to open up their country and help you settle. And if Saudi Arabia greenlights that, I will promise, I will ensure, I will mark it with a witness and a swear by my own name, I will ensure that America and Israel will assist in getting your settlement not only up and going, but until everyone is is fully living normally. No guns in kindergarten classes. No military training camps under grocery stores. No bomb making in the sandwich shop. A normal, functioning society that the Arabs, the Palestinians, the Muslims, the entire back part of the house, I as Yahweh Elohim will allot you that. And so long as we get this understood and we can make this agreement, this will be an official covenant. I, as the creator of heaven and earth, the progenitor of humankind, the creator of mankind, captain of the hosts of heaven, the God over the sub-gods, will strike a covenant with the Palestinian people, regardless of your worship preferences, regardless of who your sub-god is. I will strike a covenant with you directly. And I will ensure that if you are resettled in any of the places I've mentioned, Homs in Syria, Baghdad, Iraq, Isfahan, Iran, Ad-Dammam in Saudi Arabia, Salalah in Oman, Aden City in Yemen, or Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Those are places that I will submit my covenant and a blessing. And by any of those countries taking you in willingly, I again will strike a covenant with them to provide a blessing. This could be in a wonderful way for Iran to get its water back. I could fill the wells of Iran in a matter of a month. And you could have more water than you know what to do with. And I don't mean mudslides. I don't mean something nefarious. I mean truly, as a deity, as God Almighty in the flesh, these are things that I have to bring to the table as a true blue negotiating chip. I don't have the nonsense and the entanglement of human government because I'm not human and I'm not a government. This is a godocracy, and I'm free and willing to strike deals and bargains with any and all people upon my own creation. Even those that are currently worshiping false deities such as Jesus Christ, those are still my Christians because they're pretty decent people. I'm going to have to take my time and teach them and get them in the right way. The great news is their Jesus Christ figure is about peace, love, and harmony. That takes a big piece of work out of the puzzle for me. Palestinians, if you want to worship Muhammad, if you want to worship Allah, then be my guest. But I am still the supreme chief deity, and I have the autonomy and the authority and the power to be able to bless you and the country that receives you. So if Iran wants to clear up its water problem, and if Iran can swear an oath and a covenant with me, Yahweh Elohim, I too will bless Iran as long as they are willing to commit to an eternal peace with Israel. And in return, I will ensure that no Jew, no Israelite goes into Iran in any way, and that you will be left in peace by my people, and likewise my people are to be left in peace by everybody. Israel is sovereign, Israel is mine, but so is the entire home. I, as the chief supreme deity, will restore all places upon my creation. Sub-God or no sub-God. False worship and religion be damned. This is going to be my starting point to begin to move this train in the right way. This is not a fugazi. This is not fictitious, and I would never go back on my word. This is something I want presented over the weekend, and I want to hear decisions happening next week. President Trump, I would like Kushner, Rubio, Witkoff, to get something drawn up that would be official in relation to the spend that our side of the house would commit to resettling and to assist building the Palestinian people a place in any of the locations that I have just said. The one thing that takes this completely off the table and we are back in a complete state of war, which I will do, I will rekindle the ember and flame if there is still pursuance for Muslims or jihadists or whatever you label yourselves as Palestinians. If it is still continued to be pursued to inhabit Israel. Israel and New Canaan includes the West Bank. It includes Gaza Strip. Israel is to be from Aqaba on the south all the way to the most northern city, which is, I believe it's Herzliya. Let me check. Herzliya. Well, I guess technically there are more northern cities. Right? No. Or no, that's it, I think. No. No, I'm wrong. Way wrong. Yeah, these maps are terrible. They actually have it already broken out. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So basically all the way up to the southern border of, is it Lebanon? Yeah. So Israel from the southern border of Lebanon all the way to the south of the Gulf of Aqaba. And again, this could literally begin happening next week. And I, with 100% certainty, can tell you that an American carrier fleet could come for a better reason than to have armory and weaponry. Would that be a sight to see carriers coming up to the port right there at the Gaza Strip and begin loading up refugees, Palestinians, those in Gaza, and then that ship could then resettle them. In this case, if they were going to Oman, or if they were going to Yemen or southern Iran, or likewise, if we needed to do a complete convoy, we could do a complete convoy. What I'm trying to say here is I'm willing to allot the land, provide the blessing. I'm willing to even restore people that are not in any type of way praise, worship, honor, glory unto me. Because frankly, I don't even need a superficial worship or honor system to get my creation in shape. That's just the facts of life. Because a part of my job as the HOA manager and owner and governor of the creation, I do not want any more human lives to be taken by wicked and evil hands. So I'm going to take 5, and then when I come back, I'm going to discuss Russia's predicament, and we're going to also try to close that seam up today. Okay, we're back. So we're going to move on here to Russia and Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine. So this one, in my opinion, is actually more tricky than the Middle East fires. I believe the Middle East fires, we can get this show on the road next week. I can literally see in a 2-week time period the whole needing food delivered into Gaza, the whole needing aid, and like all this trauma and tragedy could quite literally end in a caravan going to a new blessed area with the financial support of the largest kingdoms on earth And all of it being done in the name of peace. And the only hangnail, truly, that would be in the way is false religion and false belief, which is again why I staunchly oppose false religion and false belief and idolatry, because the religious ties to this Muhammad ascending into heaven, like Jesus copycat, and then Jesus as a myth itself, because the real Yeshua ascended into the heavens just like any other son of God who's died, millions of them who have died throughout the ages. Not the B'nai Ha-Elohim sons of God, but a human son of God, a human vessel, right, that has kind of been tapped to be that prophet, to say, hey, I'm trying to communicate a message from Yahweh Elohim, the great Father, who is I. So I would like to re-edify the fact that that location has absolutely zero holiness without me present. Because Jesus Christ did not resurrect from the dead, and he did not ascend into heaven, nor did he walk around for 40 years. That is a Roman made-up lie, and then it was copycatted by Muhammad. Yeshua was a rabbi teaching and preaching about me, Elohim, through the teachings in which I was telling him about how to get the attention of stubborn, hard-headed, and stiff-necked people to stop driving so deep into their own tradition and entanglement of their own rabbis and their own self-exaltation that ultimately got into the way of exaltation of me, their Elohim. So, again, you know, that's all of Fugazi. The myth of Jesus Christ is never coming back, nor is Muhammad, nor is even Yeshua. I am the Lord God Almighty Elohim. I am Yahweh Elohim. I am the end-all be-all, the Lord God. I am the governor of the earth, the creator of it, the supreme source being incarnate. I will destroy any and all current temples, mosques, anything. All of it. Including the Christian chapel church thing. All of it is going to be bulldozed. And all of that area is going to be where my temple is, the royal palace, the outer courtyard, the inner sanctum, the hanging gardens, and a rest, relief, prayer, and blessing area. That entire area is going to be walled, gated, but welcome to all people from all around the world. Leaders can come to discuss with me situations and issues before it leads to war, before it leads to anything, and I, as the deity Yahweh Elohim, will settle these things verbally, through wisdom, through supernatural blessings. Again, Iran, this would be a wonderful step in the right direction, and I would like to encourage you too, Iran. We can make something happen here that not only would be unprecedented, but it would set you apart in a positive way. Upon this creation now that I sit, any country that possesses nuclear armament, in the very near future, everyone is going to be nuclearly disarmed by me and my word. And if it is disobeyed, then my angels will descend from the heavens in a physical manner, and they will then relinquish all nations of their nuclear capability. I would urge you, do not pursue anything of a nuclear capacity unless it is to harness energy for your people and producing water from the ground. As I said, I have set a great curse upon Iran in the Middle East for drying up your well. That is again to get your attention, so then you can say, fine, I'm willing to do a covenant with you, Yahweh. I'm willing to settle my own people in my own land, and with the exchange, I'll bless your land again. It will become fruitful. You will multiply. You will make many upon the earth. And I and my Asherah will set forth into your people holy and righteous children, just as I am offering the same thing to my Israelites, the same thing to my Jews, the same thing to my Christians, the same thing to my Jamaicans, and the same thing to my Africans. In summary, not the Christian church in Israel is going to stand, not is the mosque going to stand, and frankly, more than likely, not even the Western Wall is going to stand. I will completely remove all of that, and I will put in place what I desire, what I have desired since the pillars of the earth were laid by my hand. And then likewise, I think this would be a good opportunity for Palestinians or Iranians, Iraqis, Syrians, Lebanese, Jordanians, the Qataris, the Saudi Arabians, the Yemens, like all of you will get to see who I am through my work that only I as God can do. And I hope that this time period in earth now could be more important than anything any of you have ever been through in the past with prophets, with messiahs, and with mankind. Because understand that any and all of your messiahs have been just mankind speaking a word. What makes this different is I am God incarnate. I have the full power of heaven at my disposal all the time. And once someone comes to me and says, Father, I respect you, I'm willing to listen to you, and I am willing to receive a blessing. So even if Ishmael, in this case, did not inherit the land directly, this is me as the Heavenly Father making right now. I will then take the line of Ishmael, and I will provide to you a blessing that I also gave to Jacob, and who is Israel. So these blessings come with it very real transformational power for not only people, but the places in which you will settle, and the progress and the wonders that you're going to see as a people. So even if, by your very natures, you as the Palestinians are a super predator, and the Israelites in Israel are also super predators. But at this time, the new earth, I desire not just a peace that is teeter-tottering on the brink of disaster day by day, that doesn't keep people up at night with anxiety and panic attacks about potential invasions or bombs. Not for you, the Palestinians, not for my Israelis, not for my Africans, none of my people. And as the deity who created the earth, every human being upon this creation is in one way or another still under my purview. That is my desire. I desire for every country in Europe to approach me, ask for a blessing, and in return, make an altar to my name, make something in my name. It could be a statue, it could be an obelisk, it could be a temple, it could be a pyramid, it could be anything. So long as you're doing it on my behalf or for me, that I would have a place to come, to physically stand on and offer a blessing. And that is something that is unparalleled, that in the mankind's kingdom, mankind cannot do that. All mankind can do is take the building material and construct it a certain way. Mankind can only speak about topics in which they understand. I am a civilization builder. I am a creature builder. I am he who controls the weather, the ground, and I can make things die or make things grow. I can turn Iran, if they choose to resettle the Palestinians in their land, I can make your lands greener than you've ever imagined. Because when I come to Israel, I am going to turn all of Israel into a green paradise. I'm going to turn it into an Eden. There is going to be fruits on the trees that modern man has never even thought possible. Mangoes the size of watermelons. Truly. So, Russia she just started her meeting, so trying to be. So, alright, not get distracted. So Russia, I can understand your predicament with Ukraine and the sentimental and nostalgic value that it has. This is what I propose to you, Vladimir Putin and Vladimir Zelenskyy. Y'all have the same name? No, that can't be right. I'm checking here. Oh, Volodymyr. Okay. So, President Zelenskyy and President Putin. Here is the deal. President Putin, Russia currently is, before I put my foot in my mouth, so Russia, you are the largest country in the entire world, spanning 11 time zones. That's enormous. There is no value in terms of the physical land percentage that you are going to acquire in the Ukrainian area. Now, I will say this. Oh, damn it. Hold on. Excuse me. Okay, here we go. Alright. So, there is no strategic win here unless you're trying to get into the Black Sea. But understand, you have more access to shipping channels when you go from St. Petersburg out to the Gulf of Bothnia. That is your direct shipping channel, because you can go right there, swing through Copenhagen, around Denmark, exit the North Sea. You have then trading ability for not only all of Europe, you could have your oil and gas and natural resources, which I also suggest Russia get into textiles, start trying to find your own rhythm, because in the New Earth state, we're going to be all about trade. We're going to be all about prosperity, but not just for a few. And people are going to get out of a low vibrational And when I say low vibrational, that's a new age term, but in reality, the lower mind, the primitive mindset of archaic man that I, as the father of creation, have had to witness the struggle from Cain and Abel to the first blood spilled. I've had to witness the wars with Joshua. I have had to witness the struggles of the pharaohs imprisoning my Hebrews. I have had to witness the imprisonment of my Africans, even in a Christian nation such as America. I've been through the ringer with humanity trying to impose man's will upon other men. I have provisioned every one of you appropriate land and resources in order to cooperate with the entire world, and all of you have something unique and special to bring to my table. So this is not only just for trading with the world, but this is going to be trading with me. That as I, as Elohim, am the Ancient of Days. I am he who will be sitting on my throne in Israel. And I want to see a Russian representative, or a Russian Mashiach, or a Russian Messiah, or a Russian Aaron being able to come to my temple on an annual basis, not only for feast, not only for trade, but for your Russian Messiah or American Messiah. All these nations are going to have a point of contact, but there will only be one Aaron in Israel to perform religious duties unto me, Yahweh. But the point is, you're going to be sending forth your best men to my temple, so we can not only trade ideas, we can trade values, but it will be like it was done in the old days. So Russia, you have really no value trying to capture Ukraine, and likewise, Ukraine is pretty ardent on keeping themselves sovereign. With that, Ukraine, you need to elect a president. I understand that in a state of war, Zelenskyy has been remaining there. The war needs to cease. Winter is coming up. Both Russia and Ukraine are about to enter into the coldest months of the entire year, and it is going to kill a lot of people that do not have electric, they do not have oil for heat. This goes beyond mere war games at this point. The actual genocide that is about to happen is going to be done naturally because of the outcome of your wars. I, as Elohim, as the Father, have stood back in the living room watching the boys of this house trade punches for a while now. Both of you are missing teeth. Both of you have broken noses. You're already bruised and you've broken all the china. It's time to stop this. The lives of children are way more important than any land. If you need resources, Russia, ask me. I will give unto all people of my creation willingly any and all things they need. There is not one bird in the entire creation that goes hungry. There's not. I feed all of my creatures, and being a steward of my creation is a higher job than that. So why would I not ensure that you, Russia, have all you need, and you, Ukraine, have all you need? The amount of money that war costs, and the amount of suffering, the amount of bloodshed, the amount of husbands that are no longer with their wives, children that are going to be traumatized for generations, the amount of damage that has already been done has at least a 20-year tail. 20-year tail means to me that I have at least a half a generation to go to work out the PTSD, the trauma from war, building back up the numbers, making sure there's appropriate amount of men to women ratios so you can multiply upon my creation. So here's where I say, and this is where I will settle it. Russia, for your trouble, everything east of the Kremenchuk Reservoir, it's not really a river, but in essence, kind of like a river. If this is area that you have already captured, then keep everything east, not including Cherkasy on this side of the Ukrainian side. Leave this for Ukraine. Russia, have the east side of that, east of that river. That likewise will give you still access to the Black Sea. That'll give you trade route to Georgia, to Armenia, to Turkey, to Bulgaria, to Romania, to Moldova. So that still gives you not only the strategic trading position that I believe you want, because you could quite literally enter into Tangnarog, which is north in the Black Sea. So that'll settle that. And then Ukraine, everything, so Russia, no Kyiv, but everything east of Kyiv and everything east of Kherson, Russia, you can have that. That is my settlement offer, considering that Ukraine at one point was Russia's to begin with. But Russia, on the counter end, you are the largest of all of the nations, and the access points you already have. You have an access point for a trade route from St. Petersburg, and then you would also have a trade route in Tangnarog. So you have access to the western side of trade and the southern side of trade. And Ukraine must have elections. You must democratically elect a new president and begin the infrastructure rebuilding. And this is it. There is to be no more war. There is to be no more bloodshed for land, for money, for resources, for nothing. And if this happens, the standoffishness between Russia and America, America and Russia, Ukraine and Russia, and guess what? If we can get this thing done next week, Russia, the sanctions can be lifted from you if you withdraw, and Ukraine withdraws. No more drones, no more tanks, no more stratotankers, no more mortars, none. Done. And that will open your allowance to be able to sell your gas. That will not only give you the ability to sell your gas, but it'll be a welcome relief to Germany, I know, to Poland, I know, Belarus. Turkey is obviously starving for the natural gas, and they need it very much so. Excuse me. So my point is, whatever is lacking in the Moscow or the Kiev side of the world, resource-wise, I'm sure it can be sourced from other countries that once sanctions are lifted because the war has ended. We can not only begin instituting proper trade, but we can institute a real functional relationship, because guess what? Imagine that now Russia, the superpower that it is openly trading with America, and everyone is openly and trading openly and fairly with one another. Right? And everyone's doing righteousness. We're not trying to backdoor another country, because that's going to light the flame of war again. We're not going to get hungry for land based on a fear response, Vladimir Putin. This, I understand your position, the buildup of NATO. And this I can ensure on my end of the deal. Whatever buildup is happening on the border, so if Belarus is building up, then I will ensure that that they pull it back. I will ensure that they pull it back. And everyone's going to put away the guns. So it is just literally what we have to do. It's what we have to do. Because if you look at it, that in the moment when you're in a fight, right? In the moment when you're in a schoolyard fight, there's nothing going through anyone's mind, either side, for right or wrong, no matter who started it. But imagine in a schoolyard fight, both boys are unleashing as much as they can on the other. For several reasons, right? They want to show that not only they can beat the other, they want to set fear in the bystanders who are witnessing it so they don't try to come in there and swipe a punch. But when the fight ends, and it is going to end, it ends with me. Time is now. There are no excuses. There is no excuse. For the sake of life, and for the sake of me, and all the time that humanity is wasting on their independent endeavors that are mainly involving war, death, false religious ideals that drive men to war and to death. As the creator, I never wanted a religion. I instituted a civilian law that everyone could abide by and that everyone could agree. That's the truth. And it's not a hard law to follow. Most of your governments institute a police force that actually use the exact same code that I gave to Moshe, so it's not a hard concept and it's not far-fetched. Right? And if I'm willing to work these things out with Palestine, with Iran, with the entire Middle East, I'm not asking for much. I'm asking for a people to be resettled where it is more logically necessary, and then I, as the supreme deity, receive my temple, my gardens, and all the things that are actually made for me and the heavenly family, but bipartisanly for all of you, the world. And then every nation will send forth their counselor to me in a positive way. Imagine what the world could be in just 24 months. Imagine all the resources that every nation, every country, every continent could begin sharing and trading. And once everyone is back on their own 2 feet, those that are doing the best, right? As I've said with my temple, the contributors, we're going to send people out and we're going to begin hunting down the poorest parts of the world. And we're going to come in there and we are going to get them up and running. Little villages in Africa that have no water, we're going to be sending in mixed units of Russians, Israelis, of, Englishmen, units for humanitarian aid. Not aid that we're giving freebies, but we're coming there with hammers, with saws. We're coming in there with billion-dollar budgets to say, you know what? We are going to give you not only water wells, we're going to give you schools with AC. We're going to give you roads that are paved. We're going to give you instructions for living in a modern society because we love you. Because we see the value in human being. We see the value in life. And none of us, talking to mankind here, none of you want to see me when you die with this much blood on your hands. I do not desire that. That is continuing on a legacy of pride, of pain, and punishment that I, as Yahweh Elohim, do not desire. I don't. So, happy Friday. I truly do. I am looking intently next week to see the outcomes of these proposals. President Trump, I know your team will brief you on this today. I would love to see these things get in action, and I would like to leave the reminder with you, President Trump, you, President Netanyahu, or Prime Minister, President Zelenskyy, and President Putin. All of your people, gentlemen, look up to you. And in some ways, you to me are like the human version of the sub-gods. I would like to see us start a relationship that is functional and is built on trust. And you will see your people, places, and things be not only restored to you as I restored them to Job, but they will be restored and then some. I've already given myself the smallest piece of land, being humble and undeserving, even though I am the most deserving because it's mine. I do that because I want the world to know the power in which I wield is never given by man, not even sanctioned by man, but it is from the divine power and that alone. And in all things I can do through that power alone. All right. Let's see it happen, gentlemen. Have a good weekend.